Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to keep looking on HBO for something better. Otherwise, I'll just end up rewatching the original Band of Brothers, which is a great thing to rewatch. It's tremendous.
I
you
love
know,
Band of Brothers. I'm sorry, I cut you off. I super loved it when it came out, but when I watch it now, I'm like, oh, you know what? It turns out that a lot of this isn't the part that I loved about it. Like, I want to say there are 8 episodes, and the last 2 are kind of not World War II anymore.
yeah,
And the first 2 are kind of not World War II. They're like
yeah,
training, and we're getting to know the integrity of Captain Winters and stuff like that. And
yeah.
I'm like, oh, when you get back to it, there's really just 2 or 3 great episodes, some of the greatest TV ever made in Band of Brothers, and a whole lot of other stuff.
I'm okay with the beginning. I do agree the
Yeah.
end. It really, the end of any story can. At the end of the Lord of the Rings, it was like felt good to wrap up and give everybody their just, wherever they needed. But in this, it's
Yeah.
like, come on, let's kill some more Nazis.
Yeah.
Like just a few more. We can find some that won't surrender.
Right.
Like that's what I want. I want them to be like, hey, winners. They say there's some Nazis up north that don't want to surrender. They say Hitler's still alive.
Right.
Well,
Gotta kill
I
it.
want to go get
Crouch.
those. Go get
The
those
last
Nazis.
episode is
Yeah.
about like I
Go to
don't know,
Brazil.
soldiers getting excited and having car accidents or something.
If Band of Brothers were made today, after its huge success, they'd be like, look, we need a season 2. How about they go to Brazil and look for Hitler? And
That
that's
would
what
be
would
Yeah.
happen.
awful.
They did a
Yeah.
season 2 and
No,
it was
fucking
Japan.
Captain Winters,
Well,
the whole
Oh.
like honestly, with the Band of Brothers thing, I'm surprising you both like have that same take. Like, I disagree with Woody on the beginning part. I really
too. I love
like
it.
when they're like kind of
5
sizing
miles up,
up
5 miles
Ross,
down.
or Ross from Friends and Lieutenant Winters. Like, I really liked that development because it showed them like growing as a group. But you are right. Like the end of the series, it's almost like after they're in Hitler's hideout, the Eagle's Nest or whatever
That's it.
it's called.
That's
Like from there on, it's kind of like, okay, we're kind of meandering now. Whereas I think the end of the Pacific one is the one part that's better than the original, because the end of the Pacific one, the guy goes back and it's like really hammers home like how he's a totally different guy. Like he's changed. He's fucked up now. He will never be able to even engage with people who didn't experience that in a way that's real because they can't possibly empathize with what he's been through. Like, and that was the
Oh.
Pacific series, which overall still solid.
I don't like
not
the
as good.
Pacific.
I
I
still like
dislike the Pacific. I made it through it once, and every time I've tried afterwards, I always end up going, "Oh yeah, I don't like this. Oh, yeah, I don't really like this. This isn't fun at all. This is like about the horrors of war." I want to see like come on, give me a little bit of that John Wayne shit. Everybody now wants to be anti-war. Fuck you. No, give me that John Wayne shit. Give me the sad ending if you want. But I want to have some hoorah, blow up the bridge, and fucking
Yeah.
Tom Hanks shooting at the tank, and then the fucking bombers come in. I want some happiness. I want some good times too.
They
it
did
doesn't have
make
to be a
the
drag.
they did make the Japs way scarier than the Nazis, as far as like the implication of like, you don't want to get captured by these Japanese. They'll saw your hands off and fucking
Yeah.
inject shit in. Like they.
No, I think
don't know,
that's the
that made the
case.
stakes seem high.
I think that if the Germans took you capture, like whenever I'll say this, whenever I see a movie of a German prison camp and there's some Americans in it, they're like sassing the commandant and like wearing a leather jacket or something. They're like,
Yeah.
and the commandant is like, "I will only let you go so far, Makruger." And it's like, dude, the guy's got like doo-wop hair over there and a leather jacket on. How much farther are you gonna let it? It always
Yeah.
seems like it's not so bad in the Nazi prison camps for the Americans. They're like shot down
For
or
the
whatever.
soldiers, yeah.
The soldiers, yeah, but on the other hand, like I feel like the Japanese were just real awful pieces of shit. They're just scum.
Yeah,
And
you read
I
about
was
like,
watching a great thing about the Japanese Zero today, and about how technologically advanced it was for its time. How the kill ratio was 12-1 in the Pacific.
weren't they mostly just crashing it?
No. That's at the very end of the war. At the end of the war, when they didn't have any other way of, it was
Okay.
the last resort sort of thing. The
Those zeros
Japanese
do look
Zero,
really cool.
the Zero outperformed everything it fought in the Pacific with a kill ratio of 12-1 in the early years.
No.
Yes, the Air Force manual said to go to high altitude, to do a passing run on them, and then to go as fast and low as you could to escape, or you will die. Because they could not fight them at all. They would lose every dogfight at a ratio of
Really?
12-1. Yes, it
I
was
had no
so much
idea we
better.
were getting wrecked.
It was so much better than anything the world had ever seen. The reports that came out of China, because the war began for the Japanese began there, were that they were just shitting on them, and everybody in the West thought it was just exaggerations. They're like, yeah, the Chinese have biplanes. Of course they're getting shit on. But no, when they started fighting, they were getting destroyed. It was only after they captured a zero and they were able to understand like how it was made and the things it was sacrificing to do all the things that I'm describing, to be so
Mhm.
maneuverable, to have a 500-mile range. I think it was sacrificing a lot. It didn't have any armor. It was like a millimeter thick, the outside skin.
It was just
So
too quick to hit for the guys.
it was too maneuverable, and it weighed like 2,000 pounds less than the American plane that was its counterpart. So it could just outmaneuver them at low speeds. So the
Dude,
doctor
12
then,
to 1. That's a horrible ratio.
yeah, that's not good.
For the first
that's a
for-
real
we
shit
were-
show.
We were losing that bad for years.
Yeah,
Damn, I never
in the air.
Huh. Well, yeah,
the air and
but that's
dogfights.
important on the Pacific.
I suppose so. It was mostly carrier battles, but they were sinking ships too with other kinds of aircraft. No, it was really interesting because I think Howard Hughes, the piece of shit that he was like, clearly it's a stolen design of the Howard Hughes Speedcraft that I designed, of course. And like finally they captured one, right? Like because the Japanese doctrine was if your plane is going down, it should go down as hard as possible. It should be destroyed. If you can, burn it. The thing that sparked the whole Japanese internment camp movement, the like case they used was where after Pearl Harbor, one of those planes crashed on one of the islands. The way news went in those days, the locals didn't immediately know that there was a World War II had begun about Pearl Harbor. But long story short, some Japanese natives on that island allowed that pilot to escape custody, burn his plane, and shoot a couple of the natives there, injuring them in the whole process. And so they used that Japanese couple as the scapegoat, if you will, for the whole Japanese internment camp thing.
Huh.
But yeah, they finally captured one, and they saw how that one, like a single hit would destroy it. Just a lucky hit would. And they also saw that I guess it wasn't very maneuverable at high speeds because it didn't have any hydraulics. It was,
So what
sacrificing that.
what
I'm
did the
impressed,
Americans
Kyle.
in their existing planes do? Because they couldn't just be like, all right, shoot more accurately. Like, did they have to immediately go back to the drawing board, design a new plane kind of like the Zero, and then put the Americans in that?
Well, they had to change their tactics right away. Like I said, they could fly at a high. The Japanese Zero could climb to 33,000 feet or so, 34,000, 10,000 meters, and it could do it extremely fast. The American tactic was to stay high and to do one run as you like dove through the Japanese and then flee because their top speed was faster. If they dogfight, they were just going to die. And later they had better planes. They
back
built
in World
better
War
fighter
II,
planes.
we were just not the power we are like we were later. Like
Well, see,
we were getting owned by the German tanks in Europe at the same time, right?
That
So
makes
we had
me
to
worry
like
about a potential fight with China, because I agree with what you're saying. Like we went in there and we didn't have the technology advantage. What we had was a manufacturing advantage.
yeah.
And over time, we even had a technology advantage. I think Kyle was about to explain that as the new planes came in, the Spitfire, etc., we were better than the Zero. And that happened after 1942. Like, I think better Spitfires.
The Zero wasn't getting better every year. What the Zero was holy shit, you are 10 years ahead of your time when it matters. You have peaked on the tech tree in this one little area. Right when you needed it, and they just shit on the whole world. But the Americans, they weren't just the Japanese had a system that could produce like 100 good pilots a month or something like that. They only had 550 total Zeros ever, I think, or at their highest number. But because they had that maybe 500-mile range, maybe it was 500 kilometers, really far, they were able to exert their influence on a much larger region with 550 planes than anyone could imagine. So they thought there were thousands of them because it seemed like there were, and they weren't losing a lot of them either.
Yeah. So
That's really interesting. I'm impressed by your guys' World War II plane knowledge.
You gave me too much credit. I was reading the Wikipedia as Kyle was saying it. I'm like, every fucking thing he says is right.
When you said, I think it was after 1942, I was like, what? Like,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
does that
I had known that for seconds before I said it. But Kyle seemed to know it all. Anyway, if we were to get into a fight with China, would it be the same thing? Would we walk in there with better tanks, better carriers, better airplanes, and then they would have this manufacturing capability that allows them to do to us what we did during World War II?
I mean, they would push our, if it was a manufacturing battle, like they'd push our shit in. Like, it's not even close at this point. Like, so we'd have to have a really superior design.
I don't think any. I'm sure someone knows, but I don't think that I'm equipped to even begin to understand what that war would look like. I guess we're fighting over Taiwan, right? So,
If that's
that's what it is.
Like their backyard.
Oh
Like,
yeah, we're fighting right there. When the Japanese are going to be there, New Zealand and Australia, the massive Pacific Fleet. Look, I'm always the guy like going "Oorah, American power," because God, we just outspend the rest of y'all 10-1 or some shit.
Yeah.
I just think
as
we're
long
gonna
as that
win.
dollar is the trading currency of the world.
Look, I just think the U.S. is going to win every time because they outspend so much. I just think that when it comes down to it, like our shit'll just be a little better, and there will be more of it. And I don't know that the war is going to devolve to that 1950s thing where it's literally factories pumping out. We need more planes. If we need more planes, that suggests that we're losing planes. That we're losing them at a huge rate. That means we're losing pilots too, right? Like I don't know if
let's
either
say
country
both sides.
I don't think
taking
either
big
country
losses.
is set up to train new air forces full of pilots and get their 5th or 6th generation planes pumped out in a timely fashion. Planes don't work like that anymore.
Well, let me ask you: if there was a country between the U.S. and China that could do that, would it be the U.S. or would it be the country with all the manufacturing and with 5 times our population?
What kind of manufacturing are we talking about, Taylor? Are we talking about building shitty steel? Are we talking about building Chinese cars? Are we talking about building the cutting edge technology that you need to fly under advanced radar systems and deliver laser guided, radar guided bombs precisely and pinpointly to dissolve a country's entire infrastructure?
And to add on to what Kyle's saying, like, also, this is an environment where we're trying to invent new shit, not just copy what America did 5 years ago.
Yeah,
Like,
but I mean, the idea that the U.S. even has the option to like vaporize China's manufacturing districts, like they would do the same thing the Germans did and change and just constantly be switching fucking machineries and shit in all these normal ass manufacturing plants. Like they can't outproduce us in a way that we can't anymore. The U.S.
What are they
needs
producing,
a bunch
though? It goes back to what my question.
military
like,
equipment,
what kind?
tanks, planes. Any of that shit they can do faster than us. It may not be as good. I'm just saying they absolutely can. And the U.S. depends on China's exports a hell of a lot more than China depends on the U.S.'s imports, which means that the U.S. has a vested interest in not destroying the entire manufacturing economy of China.
Well, I think both sides have economic worries if they go to war with one another. I think it'd be a massive global event, far beyond like the military like might of it all. But I don't know what that war even looks like. I don't think anyone. I think we all. You see what's happening in Ukraine, right? Like nobody knew what that war would look like. It turns out it looks like 21st century World War I all over again. They're in fucking trenches in the snow out there.
I thought Ukraine was going to lose maybe there's day. Like they lost the Kiev airport for a few hours, right? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I thought it was over with that.
You know what? I bet that's a whole fucking movie. I bet the siege and then retaking of that airport is a whole fucking Die Hard-esque movie. Because what it sounds like happened is the Russians landed fucking paratroopers in their capital, captured their airport with what I can only imagine were the baddest James Bond
skeleton crew,
Sylvester Stallone cocksuckers Russia can muster with their night vision on and their fucking hex grid armors or whatever. Like landed at the airport, took that shit, and there were some Ukrainians somewhere that got a phone call and they said, "Hey, the fucking Spetsnaz just took our airport. The country could fall within hours. They're here for the president." And they said, "All right, we're on the fucking way." I want to know that guy's story. Like he hopped in the truck with his gun
say it with an accent,
killed those people.
Yeah, Team 6. Like that would be cool.
The seals come out of the back. There's like Russian SEAL Team 6.
There was here in the water.
maybe like
giving them sardines. Looking hard as fuck. They got those metal teeth like dude had.
like Jaws in,
Yeah.
in
the
yeah,
canines, dude.
007.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm or no, I think most people agree with this. I put a lot more, I guess, respect on China than Russia as far as like
Oh yeah.
capacity and shit. Like I feel like Russia isn't at all equivalent to China. Maybe I'm like being silly.
I
but
think
it doesn't
Russia's been a third-rate power for a long time. I think that's being exposed
feel
right
like
now.
China's
because-
real deal. Have you seen the fucking shit they have their kids doing in school? They're all
Dude, I don't
fit.
ca-
They're
Get
bouncing
outta here with that
basketballs
propaganda.
in sync.
Taylor, no,
Michael Jackson dance.
Michael Jackson, they're thrilling all over the Chinese yards.
It's a problem.
I see that as propaganda. You know, I bet if you showed a bunch of Chinese podcasters who were like normally censored and had never seen it before, I bet that if you showed them the fucking crowd at UGA when they start throwing up the letters to spell words out and told them that this was our students and that this was what they're spelling was death to China, and like they'd be fucking scared if they saw 85,000 people fucking spelling shit. Little do they know they're spelling "go dogs," and they couldn't give a fuck less. Oh, we eat dogs.
Oh, we hate dogs. Yeah. Oh, we come to America, we gonna eat all your dog. We conquer you and then we make you watch when we eat your dog.
The whole football team's scared. Like, it's about us.
If the ATF was a country.
When we do get conquered, I was joking about that, guys, fellas. When we get conquered,
Are you worried
It was
about
a joke.
upsetting our 5 Chinese viewers who are using a VPN?
Oh, this is the final straw.
I'll start reading that like what was that massacre they had the
Tiananmen.
Tiananmen Square.
yeah, I'll start reading the Tiananmen Square wiki. Get y'all all fucking locked out.
Oh, that I would never do that just to a poor Chinese viewer because they'll get you. Or I guess
I've
not
seen-
from reading it, but they can't look it up.
I haven't seen the video, but somebody was saying that in Rust, they were dealing with Chinese hackers and they're outside their base like screaming in Chinese, and they just started reading that whole Wikipedia article. It's like, I guess
removed.
yeah, that's like bad mojo over there. You know, you can't be talking about all that. That shit didn't even happen as far as they're concerned. That's like Voldemort's name and the N-word mixed together.